Welcome to Passing Conversations. I'm Judy Ruth. This is Tracy Lee. We're at her funeral home in Queen City, Texas. I have a lot of questions about funeral services, and we started this YouTube channel, excuse me, for the purpose of getting some of my questions answered and some that you might have as well. So I'd like to talk today about organ donation, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, that's fine.
People ask.
That's right. It's whatever. It's the questions. It's whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever you want to ask, I'm willing to answer.
So my first question is, what's the process? I mean, where's the body? Does it come to you first, and you find out that it needs to go somewhere else to be harvested, or organs harvested?
Those are great questions. But before we start, I want to introduce our new timer.
Oh.
So
We're already late getting started.
That was a sand.
Cute.
A little sand glass. What is that called? Hourglass. Hourglass. Yeah. And so that way it would keep us on time. Okay. So your question is, what about organ donation?
What's the process?
Okay. So first, I want to point out that there's a difference between organ donation and body donation.
Oh.
So body donation is where you're going to give your whole body to science.
Okay.
Organ donation is where you're just going to give parts of your body to, it may go to science, or it may go to another person to help save their life. So that's the difference. So with organ donation is a unique thing. First of all, I want to say that it is a very selfless and a wonderful thing to do, is to donate your organs to save someone else's life. It's an incredible thing to do. There are some things, though, that you should know before you commit yourself to it. There is a national registry where you can register to be an organ donator or organ donor, and you just go on that registry and register, or you can do it on your driver's license. That makes you an organ donor. In my first few years of funeral service, I had several people who donated their organs, and it was usually like an eye or a heart or a kidney or something like that. Then I had one who was an organ donor, and they harvested everything on her. And so the thing that you have to understand when you become an organ donor is you have no control over what you're donating. So if you say, yes, I want to donate my eyes, as soon as you've signed, yes, I want to donate, the company, the harvesting company, can take anything they want. So if you say, I want to donate my eyes, okay, we'll take your eyes. And if they see that your heart is a good heart, they'll take your heart. If they see that your kidneys are good, they'll take your kidneys. And that's all well and good, because probably you were willing to donate. That's the person you are. You're willing to donate your organs. However, they can, like I said, they can take everything. So if they want to take your bones, they can take your bones. If they want to take your jaw, they can take your jaw without your permission, because you've given permission. When you say, I will donate my organs, you don't get to determine what organs those are. Mm-hmm. They do. And so it can be a shocking thing to the family when they think you've donated an eye, and really you've donated everything. You come back looking like a filleted fish.
Oh dear.
Yeah. So when you are considering being an organ donor, which I think is a wonderful thing, you need to know that you need to know if your family can withstand what happens to you when they decide. It usually doesn't happen to older people because their organs aren't in that great of condition, but to younger people it happens. And so where they will harvest everything, you need to make sure that your family can handle that.
So there's excuse me, visual signs of that there's been donations?
Oh yes, I've had cases come back where they look like a filleted chicken.
Oh dear.
and I've had to restructure,
me.
you know, build a skeleton for them out of PVC pipe or something, or, you know, and put things into their body cavity to make it stand up like a human being looks, instead of something that's been flattened because all the bones and all the interior is gone. And they can take your skin, so they could take your all of your skin. You could, you know, or they can take all of your muscles, or they can take all of your bones, they can take everything. So that is something that your family needs to be prepared for. And really, if that's something you want to do, you need to prepare your family, because they need to know that that's what you want. And just plan to have a closed casket.
Wow. Excuse me. So what is the process? Does it go there first, or does it come to you first and you go, oh, I've got to transport this person somewhere? How does that work?
That's a good question. I know I say that every time you ask a question.
They're well thought out.
It depends a lot on the condition, okay? So usually what happens is you die at the hospital, or because if you've passed at home, there are elements that can interfere with your ability to donate an organ. But if you die at the hospital, you're in a controlled environment. They can keep oxygen and blood flow through your organs to maintain their integrity. However, that's not always the case. Even if you pass at your home and you decide you want to donate an eye, you can come to the funeral home, and the harvester can come to the funeral home and harvest your eye there. It's usually not an extensive harvest if it's done at the funeral home. That's usually done at the hospital or at their harvesting facility, because they need, you know, machines to keep that blood flowing and stuff. But usually what will happen is if you die at the hospital and they want to consider you for organ donation, they don't release your body to the funeral home until your family says yes or no. If your family says no, they call us, we come pick you up. If your family says yes, then you're kept there until the harvesting company can come and harvest your organs.
That delays the services, right?
It does delay things, yes. Not only does that delay them, but you know, if you are an extensive harvest and you come back to the funeral home, it may take us quite some time to reconstruct you in a way that makes you presentable to your survivors, if you want an open casket. So yeah, it can delay. I've had clients that aren't even at the funeral home for over a week because they're being harvested. So yes, it adds time.
Is there an additional cost if they have that done with the funeral?
There can be reconstruction costs or restorative art costs, yes, because things that are that extensive, a specialist will be called in and they have fees that they charge.
And how did they get permission to do this?
Well, you can, like I said,
So
you can get permission
registry.
when on your driver's license, you can register as an organ donor. You can go online on the National Registry and register as an organ donor. Or when you pass, they automatically ask your family. I mean, they're not going to release you until they get a no. The hospital's not going to release you. So until they're able to notify next of kin and ask them if they will be an organ donor, you're delayed.
So the designated person, we talked about that last time, can say, hey, Grandpa doesn't need his eyes anymore, let's donate them.
Yeah.
They can do that.
Yes, they can do that.
Unless you have something and maybe documented that says you don't want to.
Yes, but even if, let's say that you are an organ donor, you've signed up, you're an organ donor, you've passed, they're still going to go to your family and make sure that you're okay with that, because
I see.
you know, a person only passes once. And that experience is so traumatic to the survivor that nobody wants to interfere with your grief recovery or the path of your life for the rest of your life, your emotional life. No one wants to interfere with that. Everybody wants to make it as easy and a transition as possible.
Hopefully.
Yeah. And if a harvesting company just came in and not in consideration of the survivor's wishes or emotional state of mind or emotional future, and just took your loved one and just harvested them, well,
Yeah, that would
I'm sure they could
be traumatic.
be sued
Yeah.
because that's a big deal. It is a big deal.
Okay, let's see, what else did I have on that subject? So you're flexible enough that you can adjust your plans, the funeral plans after, if they decide, they weren't going to do it and then they decided to do it and then, the timeline is all off.
Yeah, you can adjust everything. What's really important is that if you're going to be an organ donator or an organ donor and you're going to come back to the funeral home has to have time to either embalm you if you are embalmable at that point, which you should be. There are some things that interfere with that, like if your veins have been harvested or your arteries will interfere with the embalming process. But let's say that it is possible to embalm you. And there are multiple methods of embalming. So one way or another, you probably can be embalmed to a degree. So the funeral home needs time for those complicated embalmings, and they need time to reconstruct you. So if you are an extensive organ donor and you're going to require a new skeleton, you're going to require some way to lift your body cavity up so that it looks like it has organs in it. Let's say maybe you donated your ear and your ear we have to build an ear for you, or a nose or something like that. All of those things take time. And so the family, if they want to have a viewable presentation, they need to allow time for those things to happen, because it's not just a snap of the fingers. It does take time.
So how do you qualify to be a donor? I mean, you have to be free of the disease or something?
Well, when you pass, they'll have your medical history, and they'll be able to see, if you died of a heart attack, you can't donate your heart.
Right.
Or if you died of kidney failure, well, there's a whole lot of organs involved in kidney failure, so probably your eyes would still be candidate, maybe your skin, maybe your bones, so there are still things that can be harvested even if you've died from disease, but the medical people will make that determination. They'll see what has pathology and what is healthy. So whatever is healthy, and if they have a need for it, they will harvest it.
So is this something you would not recommend to somebody, to a best friend or something?
Well, it depends on how you're going to handle it. Now, so I was an organ donor. I was on the National Registry. I had a friend that was an organ donor, and they harvested everything from her. I mean, everything. When she came back, my husband was so distressed over it that he instantly asked me to take my name off the National Registry, and I was affected by it. And so even if he hadn't asked me to do it, I would have done it. Yeah. Because I could not have done that to my children. My girls would have not. It would have disturbed them to see me like that.
Right.
And so if the organ donation places would let you put a limit on what they could take, like if you would say, you can take my eyes, my heart, my kidneys, I would still do that. But in that they don't allow that, when you sign on the line, you're theirs.
Right.
So because of that way of doing business, the way that they do business, I took my name off the National Registry. And I would be happy to donate certain organs, but there would be a limitation because I just couldn't do that to my children.
Okay, well, that's all I have for that subject. That's enough of that.
Yeah, it's a difficult topic because it's such a divine thing to do.
Right.
It's charitable. It's charitable, but it's so devastating. It can be devastating. Sometimes it's not, sometimes it is.